Hello, Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Tonight, inshallah, we'll talk about the brand strategy versus business strategy, and a lot of talks talking about what's the different and how we can use it. And yes, and our guest today, special guest tonight with Elena. I'm just waiting for her to be in live with me so we can start chat and we can start the discussion in this topic. She's there now, and we will. Of course, we have just 1 hour, but within this hour, 1 hour, we have a couple of questions to Elena. Hi, Elena, how are you?
Hi, hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yes, perfect. Both our internet is perfect, so
Yeah.
there is
Yeah,
no yes.
let,
Oh,
let's
oh,
hope we have a great connection today because I was
inshallah.
experiencing, some
So
turbulence
I
with that.
start a conversation with Alina in Clubhouse before, I think, a couple of weeks before, talking about what's the difference between brand strategy versus business strategy and a lot of overlaps area in between. And tonight we have a couple of questions to you, Alina. And just before that, please just introduce yourself to our audience. Who's Alina? What about what's your background business and background in brand strategy and in general? Who's Alina?
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Elena. I'm running a branding and design studio out of Connecticut in the United States. Originally, I'm from Russia, but I moved here quite a long time ago. And I'm working with growing companies and growing organizations to help them with branding and help them define their positioning, clarify everything around their brand, and then help them with identity design and then web presence, and then help them grow. So that's what I
So,
do.
so on both sides, design and strategy, because you're talking about the brand identity slash we have positioning, and the other thing that's mean you working tango. I mean,
Right.
design and strategy, perfect. So in our last discussion in the clubhouse, we talk about what's the difference between brand strategy and business strategy, and just before definition, before the differences in both. So do you think that for a startup or for SMEs, it's important for them to understand or to use brand strategy or business strategy, or just it's when? Because in a couple of articles when we read it in Google, that they said it's not too much different between brand strategy and business strategies, a little bit, maybe one to two different, but mainly same thing. But before going into diving in the difference between, I just have this small question, which is, do you think it's important for small, medium enterprise SMEs or even a startup to understand and digest what brand strategy is, what brand and what business strategy is, or it's not that much important? What do you think?
I think it's super important for them to understand the differences and how brand strategy and business strategy work together, because it's the two sides of one coin. And probably we'll be diving in a little bit deeper into explaining why, where they come together and how they're different. But basically, everybody who is starting a business and running a business right now, it's really important to understand how branding
Do
can help them.
you think, Alina, because usually in referring to the reports that maybe 80 to 85, maybe even 90% of all economic, I mean, the government or depend on this small and medium enterprises income in GDP and GDP, sorry. Uh, do you think most of these SMEs or startup they use brand strategy or business strategy, or it just purely about just business plan and that's it? What's income, what's the margin, how we can expense, and what's the expense, what's the invest, and the difference, just return on investment, and that's it. Just they are looking for figures, facts and figures, that's it, without going deep in the brand strategy and all that things. Because most of SMEs, do you think they use brand strategy or business strategy, or just purely it's financial strategy?
I think everybody, if we are talking about startups, they usually start with business strategy, because business strategy is concerned with everything, like with how you make money, right? If you're starting a business, you gotta have a business model and have idea of how you're actually gonna make money. And everybody who is starting a business, this is the first idea that comes to their mind, like, how can I build a business around something? Usually they see a gap in the market, or they have skills that they can use and serve their clients, or either it is a product or it's a service, but they start to build something around that, and they start to generate income, making sales. So everything that they are doing around that, building their business. When it comes to branding, I don't think that founders right now, they just wake up and start thinking about branding. They probably should. The earlier, the better. And I see a little bit of a shift there. So usually right now, founders, they start to think about branding early on, and that's great. But usually it comes after they have some validation of their idea, they have some money. That's when they starting to think about branding.
Okay, this is very crucial question, Elena. So as a startup, I have to think as a business strategy, because business strategy is the fundamental, because one of the elements for the business strategy is vision, mission, goals, values, and incomes, expenses, Excel sheets, all that related to business strategy. So this will be the what they call it, the cornerstone for my business. After that, I have to think for brand strategy, because brand strategy means I have to create the perception. Brand means perception. I have to manage that perception. Why? Because that affects internally and externally to my customer, to my employee, and to create that what they call it, reputation and the image in my people's mind, either internally or externally. So it's coming in sequence or it's in parallel. Means I have to think in business strategy, purely about business strategy, after I just settle down, after I put all the pieces in its place. Then I have to think about brand strategy, or no, it's not that scenario. Scenario should be in parallel, because when you create business strategy, you create perception, either internal or external. So it should be in parallel, not in series. So what do you think about that? Which scenario is the best, or not the best? Which scenario is more practical for startups? It's in sequence or in parallel?
I think it has to be a parallel scenario.
Okay.
Because brand strategy is dealing with, like you said, with perception. So it explains what your business does for the customer, while business strategy, it's concerned with internal build of the business. So it's about money, it's about positions, how you will grow, if you plan to grow, who you will hire. And then branding, it is concerned with how you explain what you're doing for the outer world, for outside world. So if you imagine brand strategy and business strategy, if you imagine a DNA, two strands of DNA coming together, so one strand of DNA, it can be a business strategy, and the second strand of DNA, it's a brand strategy, and they are connected. So they can't really work without each other, right?
Talking about tango, not solo. We're talking about tango business, not solo. I mean,
right.
Should both of them, coming together is in day one. So it's not in serious. It's not mean I have to finish business strategy. Then if I have time, yes, I will think about brand strategy. It's not working like that, because as you said just before a couple of minutes, you said many startup they think after they finish the business strategy, talking about brand strategy. So this one is not a practical step. They have to think it's in parallel, because from the first day in your business, you're building your perception about yourself, about your employee, about your external customers. So in this case, we confirm. I think there's something with my internet, because a couple of audience, maybe all the audience, they said they can't hear me. So I just switch off the live, and now I'm live. I hope that Elena, she's now there, so we can just connect again. Hello Muhammad. I'm just waiting Elena to be live so we can just continue our conversation. Unfortunately, it just cut off from, I think, from my side. She can't hear me, so I don't think, I don't know really. Anyhow, just I'm waiting here to come so we can start our conversation related to brand strategy and versus business strategy. I'm just waiting for her. Thank you. هلا أمير. هلا محمد. الله يعطيكم العافية. I'm just waiting. Yes, she's there now. Hi Elena, please join so we can continue. We just send the request. Unfortunately, I think there's some technical. Yes, she's there now. Okay. I hope it's working now. Elena?
Yay, I'm here. Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know
Yeah.
what's, because you can't hear me, I can't hear you. Anyhow, just switch off, say it again, save it again. And by the way, the couple of minutes that we already did, I just save it, in IGTV, just in case, because to prevent any repetition again. So that's fine. So we can put it in like in 2 episodes. So we're talking about the definition of brand strategy. Some of the articles or on the internet, they define the brand strategy as anything related to creating perceptions based on content or visual. So do you think this definition is complete, or is something missing there?
I think brand strategy is a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
wider than that definition. It includes the visual perception, it includes the messaging strategy of the brand. It includes the employer brand, for example, how your brand is viewed by your employees. So it's an internal questions, but also you're building your brand for the people you're hiring to attract talent. And it deals with the customer experience.
Yes.
So basically, it just covers the relationships with other people, right? With the people that interacts with your brand. And
Perfect.
as you said, like
so we can start, Elena, brand strategy is anything that create the perception, anything. Either it will be offline, online, it will be content, it will be visual, it will be customer service, it will be user interface, guerrilla marketing, ambient, anything. In this case, it will be overlap a little bit between brand strategy and marketing strategy, which is marketing strategy, it will be under the business strategy because there's expenses. So anything related to expenses will be under the umbrella of business strategy. And one of the business strategy pillars is marketing strategy. So I think there are like common area between these 3 terminologies, which is business strategy, marketing strategy, and brand strategy. Brand strategy, yes, it's creating the perception. Marketing is the tools for the business strategy to deliver the brand strategy, and business strategy is the roadmap, the blueprint for everything. So how we can manage all these complicated things? If it's complicated, I don't know. Because a lot of details happening here, even for a startup. How we can simplify it?
So if you think about business strategy, marketing strategy, and brand strategy as like 3 pillars of the business, think about business strategy as something that deals with revenues and operations. Then right now, marketing strategy, we place branding under the marketing, but basically right now they are going hand in hand, and branding is elevated a little bit on the same level as marketing. And I think that in the future,
Mhm.
brand will be even on the level of CEO. So basically, brand will inform the marketing decisions, and then marketing strategy will be dealing with sales and with advertising. And basically, branding will be responsible uh, to of how you will reach your business goals. So I think right now, as if you look at the companies how they're running right
Yeah.
now, the marketing is a big thing. Like it's a huge departments in the
Right.
big companies, and they're dealing with branding. But then they don't deal with, for example, with internal relationships. It's an HR. But
See,
basically,
I,
branding is going in that direction too.
I think, Alina, there's misconception or there's something is not going right. Why? Because as you said, either there's marketing departments in big companies, or even marketing agency, which is independent organizations that serving corporations to deliver their message. But the brand presence is not that much before maybe 15, 20 years old. Now it's like happening like a trend. we
Yeah.
have we are brand specialists, we are brand strategic, we have brand whatever that department in our organization. It's not should be the brand as is the main umbrella, because the brand talking about perception. So perceptions, that mean one of the output of brand strategy is marketing. It's not vice versa,
Right.
because talking about perception, for example, you talk about marketing, even word of mouth is marketing. Even small thing that put it in your jacket that relates to your brand is marketing. But marketing, what's the purpose of marketing? Is generate sales. But sometimes branding does not generate sales. It generates loyalty. It generates trust. But at the end of the day, because marketing is instantly you want the results. For example, I have a campaign. Okay, after this campaign, it should be there is traffic, should be there is sales. So I can my KPI for marketing is the facts and figures only. But for brand, it's more than that. It's more spiritual, maybe. I don't know. It's something intangible. So something about the people's mindset, people's
Right.
behavior, people's love, people's belonging. So we cannot measure that. So maybe that's why people till now they don't digest the brand strategy more comparing with marketing, because marketing is something practical. Yes, I have this campaign, I have TV, I have radio, I have online, etc., etc. But for brand, I think the brand is behind the scene, whereas marketing is in the stage. You get my point? Because brand
Yeah.
is how we can create our archetype positioning. This something is not we have to show to our customers. This all behind the scene. So for customer, they have to see the play in the stage, which is marketing. So, do you think this
Yeah.
is a normal scenario that's happening in our business, or it should be we have to review it again?
I think it's naturally changing right now because, like as you said, marketing is a big thing. But if you look at it, the marketing departments or marketing firms, they also do strategy, and they have both type of things that they do. They do strategic thinking and they do tactical execution. So I
Mhm.
think the strategic thinking is where the branding comes to life. And if you take this part and basically just have it as a entity that goes and informs the marketing and all the tactical things that the marketing does, that's what it goes to. Like you said, branding should inform marketing. But at the same time, if you think about in terms of campaigns for bigger brands, they
Mhm.
do their campaigns annually, or there is a seasonal campaign that they're running. So there's like this tactical things, but usually part of that campaign is strategic thinking, how we can communicate our brand values to our customers within this campaign. So I think that's where marketers and brand strategists and branding people have to work together and overview all the process of creating campaigns, which will involve the copywriting and then visuals and then creative part of it. But everything, it has to be on brand.
Okay, if
And
I
yeah,
have like a challenge for you, Alina. If you are the business owner and you have two options, either to go and work with marketing agency or with a brand agency, and both of them they are strong in their field. This is very they are very good in marketing. They are very good in branding. I mean brand strategy, not the branding as implementations or functional, is more in strategic. So which one you prefer to go with first, with marketing or with the branding?
I would prefer to go with branding, of course.
Why?
Because I see myself, since I have a design background, I see myself as a connector between visual ideas and verbal ideas with how brand explain itself through the marketing. So I don't consider myself a marketer, partly because we all, right now we under the marketing and we have to consider ourselves partly marketing people. But I think I'm closer to that subset of marketing, which is closer to strategic branding and to strategic communications and strategic visuals, if you would like to put it that way. The identity design, that's the visual strategy of the brand that you're creating for the company.
Okay, my other question, Elena, in your I mean, United States, usually, they start to put the roadmap based on the brand strategy. Then they can hire a marketing agency to implement the brand strategy, or they just looking for marketing agency and they doing the strategy plus implementations, and that's it for them. So which one is more practical for brand presence in the market? To go with first, I have to get the brand strategy first, then I have to sit with market agency, share with them the output of a brand strategy, then they have to implement, or just I have to take shortcut, which is usually happening in our region here. So, for example, a bank or a factory or even government, they go directly to market agency, just something visual here and there, and that's it. We have a marketing campaign, end of the story. So, what's happening usually in the United States?
Well, it depends on the expertise of the marketing team. I think if the expertise is there and they understand what fuels the marketing campaigns, they usually start with strategy. And it is up to the client to know about it, to educate themselves about what comes first and not put the cart before the horse, right? So you gotta build out the strategic part of your communications and understand and bring clarity about your brand and your visuals, and then start to do something with it when you start to communicate about your brand to the end customer. The other way around, it's very risky. You don't know what you're doing, you're testing without planning.
Right.
You will run into many risks and will ultimately will lose money on this. So it's
I
very
will tell you,
important.
I'll tell you a real story, Alina, with one of our clients, potential clients. When we sat with them, with the client, I mean, with the group, the team of the client, I asked this question: what is your brand persona? What's your archetype? Based on archetype, it will be create the content, tone of voice, anything related to visual, it will be all reflected by your archetype. For example, if your archetype, for example, caregiver, is different from hero, it's different from, we have 12 archetypes. I don't remember all of them. So we have to define your archetype first, because without defining that, that's mean you don't have consistency in your communication. Sometimes you pretend you are a hero, and another time, another campaign, you are a caregiver. The other time, everywhere. So that will be fluctuating. That's not give the your target audience the sustainability in communication, and that will not give the right perception. Perception is a brand. So they don't aware about that. So how we can, from your experience, Alina, with your clients, how we can convince a client, please, you have to have your, you have, as you said, you have to know your DNA first. Without your blueprint, we can't go directly for marketing, because people now it is driven by FOMO, fear of missing out through the traffic. I have to be there. I have to be in social media. I have to be in event. Just they want to jump in, but without the right, what they call it, the roadmap, without the right weapons, without the right persona for them. I cannot go in the market without I don't know what's my persona. So it's a basic, but maybe it's a basic for me and you, but for customers, for clients, they don't aware about that. So
Yeah.
usually, based on your experience, how you can convince your clients to, what they call it, hold your horses. Please just review a little bit about your brand, and after that you can go for marketing. So what's your advice, Elena?
You know, when it comes to convincing, I'm not convinced in convincing people. I think that the showing them that that's a logical step is the better way. So we don't want to sell something that people don't understand why they need it. But the way to explain is to find the gap between, for example, in their business, in sales, if they have a great product, but their sales is not, they could be better. So there is a gap. You can, by asking questions, find out what they want to achieve, and then show how they can achieve it. Because usually they are concentrated on a business strategy, on sales, on actually doing the product, on producing the product or developing the product. But you as a brand strategist, you come in and then say, okay, so this particular feature of your product, we can link to the needs of the customers in that way. So it will be more clear to them how they can use it. Because, you know, people are living their lives, they have their own problems that they want to be solved, right? If you can connect, if you can show that you can make their life better and easier, that's when they will see that they need your product. So the branding person actually connects those gaps to the customers, to the other side. And it's just a conversation, how you recognize those patterns, those gaps in business strategy, and how you can connect it. So it's where the brand strategists have to know a little bit about business strategy, because those are the dots where you can go in and say, okay, so here we need to communicate that clearly, and take it from there.
Okay, that's what they call it. You have to educate to generate engage. Educate to engage, because without they cannot digest the importance of brand, so they will not engage with you, because they say, sorry, thank you, I don't need a brand strategy, just go direct to the marketing. So when we define a little bit what they call it, the elements or items for each one, for example, business strategy, we have vision, mission, goals, values, and anything related to financial event will be all under the umbrella of business strategy. We go for the brand strategy. What will be the elements or the items in the checklist for brand strategy usually? Because without that, I can't start conversation with my clients, because they will ask me, okay, this is my business strategy. What will be the adding value from your brand strategy to my business? So I have to not convince, but at least I have content that will be the starting point for our conversation. So what will be the elements for brand strategy? combine with
that's an
this?
yeah, yeah, that's an interesting question because you mentioned values, for example, right? This is the element that is shared by business and brand strategy. Is just the focus. If a business already has a values and a statement and all the brand platform, you gotta look and read carefully because the details are hiding usually in the words, how you communicate that. Other words explaining sufficiently the idea behind the business to the customer, or it's self-serving to the stakeholders inside the business. So where those words are focused more, and if they're talking about getting more revenues or how the product is great, well, it doesn't really translate into anything. It doesn't really translate into value for the customer, right? So we have to take it and turn it to the customer so they will understand why they need this product. Maybe it will solve some of their problems. So I think that great if business have it, but usually they do it because they have to do it, like other businesses are doing it. Let's put the values on the website. But it's not enough, right? We have to really be careful about how we formulate those values and how we connect them to what the business does for the customer. So they have to live their values
I
and to
think,
deliver on them.
yeah, I think, Elena, there's another challenge. It's not just in the United States or even Bahrain or any countries in this planet is as follow. I'm a startup. I have very limited budget. I have um, to spend it either in business strategy, or I have to spend it in marketing, or I have to spend it in brand strategy. For you as a business owner, which one it will be more priority for you? It's brand, or it's a business, or it's a marketing? Of course, maybe the basics
Yeah.
will be because you have to put the value strategy, the, the overall. But after that, okay, it's like a juggling, it's very difficult. So just can you please prioritize it? For example, if I have limited budget, I will start with this, then that, then C, A, B, C. So we have business, we have brand, we have marketing. So which one? Just put it in sequence if you can do that.
I would go, of course, for the business strategy first because that's what generates money, right? So you gotta have your business designed in a way that it works.
Right.
Then usually founders and business owners go for marketing, but they
Why?
have to understand because that's what they know, right? It is just the mainstream of how it's done. But basically what they have to see is that marketing is have like it's a twofold entity with a strategic part of it and tactical part of it. So if you skip the strategy part, you will be in trouble. So I would say the second thing has to be brand strategy. But since it is nested under marketing, maybe, at this time, it is better for us to explain it that way, to be more relatable to the founders. Hey, this is brand strategy, but it's a part of marketing, and it's where you start to market your product or service, right?
Very important statement, Alina, when you say, because that's what they know.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
I can just make like a metaphor, which is like we have huge party, and everybody, because we have the mind of a tribe, the mind of belonging. Because my competitors, they have this marketing campaign, so I have to be presence. Presence does not mean necessarily perception, the right perception. Because of FOMO, I have to be present. That's me marketing. So I have to be in social media. I have to be here and there. Like I have to jump in party with just regards about my costume. I have to be there. But the brand should be, you have to rethink again before you go into the party. What will be your costume to present? What will be the perception you need to deliver to the people in the party? We don't have that. I have to just to jump. everybody in
Right.
marketing, yes, I have to be there, you know. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
so do you think that's the right thing?
I think when we're speaking about perception and about reputation, whether you want it or not, reputation is built with or without you. There is a perception, even if you think about how you meet new people, there is a perception of a person that you have from the very first time you meet them. Same
Right.
thing happened with any company. And there is two ways. If you don't want to deal with brand, you just let the reputation of your brand build on your own, or you gotta manage it. That's when the brand strategy comes into play. If you want to manage how people think about you and your brand, then you will reach out to brand strategist or a strategic person in the marketing department for that matter.
For a startup, Elena, what's your advice if they, for example, they want to start their own business from day one? Uh, if they want to go to brand strategy, so they have to study it by themselves, or they have to go for big agencies, small agencies, or online. Especially the brand strategy is more related to the local culture. It's not something like a general. For example, design. I can hire any designer from all around the world, regardless about his or her background culture, because design is something international. Yes, they can customize it if there is some specific message about costume, about the look and feel, which is that adaptable. But for brand, it's more related to the local, right? Because I have to understand the customer's culture deeply. So from that, I have to understand their target audience, which is different mindset from culture to culture, from country to country, from language to language. So brand strategy is more deep, more than marketing as applications. I mean, as execution. Sorry, for
Mm-hmm.
marketing. Did you get my point? Because for Mark, I
Yeah.
can any animator, can hire any designer, I can hire any director, but for the content, that's why the definition, some of the definition from a couple of websites, they're talking about brand strategy, the perception that can present the content. So the content coming from not the marketing, content coming from the brand strategy, the tone of voice, how I can present myself based on my tone of voice because of archetype, because of brand persona. So, so it's a little bit, if everything's connected, so we can't just segregate it. So, for that one, so what's your advice for small and startup if they want to hire a brand strategy agency or brand strategy specialist, man or woman?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, what do you think? What they have to do as an action plan for that if they want to go, for example, for the brand strategy?
Well, first of all, they have to see what budget they have set aside for this initiative, and that will probably um, drive their decisions pretty much because depending on the size of the company, and depending on the risk they have when they're dealing with the market, it will plus the budget, it will drive their decisions. If we're talking about startup, I think many startups start working with a solo brand strategist, and that's enough. We can say that this person can go in and then build out the brand, build out the foundation, and they uh, give it to them so they will run with it for a couple of years, and then this person can go in and then check on them how they're doing, what else is needed because the company is growing,
Mm-hmm.
and the reviews and then check-ins are very necessary. But if we are talking about a growing company, it depends on the risks they have with their product. If the risks are pretty high, I would suggest them to really consider spending a healthy budget on brand strategy, because otherwise it's just an investment into the business. It will stay with you, and it will stay with the company as an equity, as a point and a path that you're going, that you're driving your company to. So this is very valuable. And we can say that those bigger companies, they still can hire a brand consultant on their team. So this consultant will go and then figure out everything for their company. Or they can hire a marketing agency with someone who is doing the strategic brand consultancy inside.
Referring to what you said, Elena, before a couple of minutes, you're saying that some marketing agency, they already embedded the plan of strategy, so that will be two in one. That's mean the best way for a startup, if they want to hire a marketing agency, they have to sit with them and they understand if this marketing agency, they have the ability to understand the brand strategy, so it will be two in one. So they can understand the brand strategy and they can implement the marketing strategy together, because I cannot do marketing just by logic. I cannot do marketing without knowing the content, without knowing the final message, and all these related to brand strategy. It's not coming from thin air, and I have to rethink again from the basic. So that's basic came from the brand strategy. So if I can, as a startup, if I can hire a small agency and they can understand both, I mean, they can implement, and before implement, they can plan as a brand strategy. I think it will be the best choice, because for me as a startup, or for the audience, or even the startup or SMEs, um, for them it will be like double expenses. They have to first they have to go to brand strategy, they have to expense, as you said, depending on their budget. Then they have to go to marketing. And by the way, even some designers, they already think like dual. So they are brand strategic a little bit, and they adding the design skills and what they call it, executions, and they give it to the client. So the brand strategy, brand thoughts, I think it's like a joker. So everybody can, winning card, either for marketing agency or for designer or for even consultant. But
Right.
that's not coming from nowhere. Should be from something structured. That's why my question, previous question is, when you define business strategy is very clear. You have to write the vision, mission, goals, values, etc. But when talking about brand strategy, what will be the list of the elements that the startup they can understand? Yes, these the elements. If you as a marketing agency, or if you as a designer, or if you as a consultant can provide these elements or checklist, yes, I will go with you. So is there any checklist for brand strategy or not? Depend, maybe from agency to agency, or from.
I think it depends, and it depends on what the founder was doing with the business strategy before they engaged the
But
brand
you do
strategist.
know something common.
I think that yes, there's a lot of commonalities. For example, um, the customer profiles.
Okay.
So we want, as a brand strategist, we want to know the customer as intimately as we can. So you can go and then not only just build out the profile, but interview customers to really understand their pain points. So that can be embedded into your services. Whether it was it done before you came to the company or not, that's the question you have to ask. If their organization is young, they probably have it in their mind, so they know a lot about their business. They know who they're selling to. They know the ideal customer. Your point is to get the information from them and see if there is like a few gaps there. And usually the gaps is in psychographics. It means not only just like demographics about the age and gender and the family status and location of the customers, but usually what they are enjoying doing, how they spend their time.
Yes. Yes.
So everything, listed, and you can see if there's gaps. The second thing is to overview their mission statement, values, and goals for the future, and how they communicated. That can be a deliverable from brand strategist, because if it's, like we said, concentrated into internal business strategy, won't work. You gotta take it and then rewrite it so it will be explained to the customers. And you can even step into marketing, so how your customers are finding you. You can go in, if you are drawn to the marketing side of it, you can go and then talk about user journey or customer journey, and write out the touch points of the customers, where they come in contact with the brand, and how you can design those touch points for the brand, and how you can communicate the value to the customer in those touch points, whether it will be a website or it's a brochure that you will be giving out on any event. So those things are really...
And that, yeah. And why brand strategy is more deeper, it's more hard work. Why? Because, for example, I'll give you for a bank, just an example. They have public relation department. For brand strategy, they have to monitoring the relationship between customers and, for example, employee. Because at the end of the day, their mission is to what they call to make the relationship sustainable, and referring to the brand persona, for example, or brand mission for the bank should be all along the journey of the customer, from picking the phone, from getting the loan, after service, everything, even the customer journey, either virtually or physically. For example, if you go to the bank, you have either in waiting area, what's your smell, what you see, the temperature, everything is related to behavioral customer behavior. So it's not something like marketing, which is, I'm not underestimating the marketing, just to compare. Marketing, of course, is hard work. But for example, marketing, I have a campaign. After the campaign, that's it. I have something visual, engage, something what they call it in the surface. Whereas in the brand strategy, it's more something under surface. That's why we have design thinking. We have to implement in our brand strategy. That's why we have behavioral, customer behavioral. We have to understand. So even a lot of new things coming in the plate of a brand strategy. Of course, it will affect in the marketing, which is AI, intelligence, many things that now with time it's coming in the surface. So we have to digest, we have to implement, we have to monitor. So it's a huge homework we have to do, because at the end of the day, it's not something like a campaign winning whatever, that's it. No, it's more than that. Even one single negative comments in a bank account, for example, that will affect in their image, even one thing. So monitoring is one of the things we have put it in our mind for brand strategy. So maybe, but sometimes marketing, they say, yeah, no, I will take care of this. So that's why there's something overlap between brand strategy and marketing. We will take care of your social media, whatever that will be. Feedback from people, we will manage it, either negative or positive. So that's my main question, which is too much overlaps area between marketing and branding. So we cannot separate it. We cannot say this is brand, this is marketing. There's a gray area. This is a gray area, either small or big, depending on the type of the industry, the understanding of the customer, and the availability in the market itself. For example, I cannot compare Bahrain to US in terms of number of brand strategic you have, comparing, for example, with small island like my beautiful island. I cannot compare, because we are a small market, you have huge market. So, but still, either even we are a small market, but still, if with high competition, which is that the last my last question, with high competition, we have to looking for uniqueness. Even we are small country, but huge competition. Everybody talking about marketing. They focus on marketing. If you're looking for blue ocean, you have to go the brand strategy, because brand strategy give you the DNA, as you said, the DNA, that's two steps in your business, to give you the sustainability, to give you the consistent, to give you the community. All these three C's we have to put in our mind. So my question to you, Elena, with very high competitive market, what's your advice for startups? They have to focus on what? Okay, they have business strategy. They have to focus later on in marketing, and they have to focus in brand strategy. What's your advice for maybe to focus on everything? Maybe this is the answer. So, but from your experience, what's your advice for startups in very high competitive market?
Yeah, it's a very general question because, we are talking about like startups. Where is it a digital startup? Is it a product startup? But like generally speaking, usually when startups are going and trying out their product, it is better to have brand 1.0, like start with something, right? But you got to think from the very beginning what you will have. And probably you can just run with this brand 1.0 for a couple of years before you go in back and then review everything and then adjust it. Because for startups, it's an iterative process. And brand strategy is the same too. It's not like we are setting up and just forgetting about it, because markets are changing. There are trends, new trends emerging. The markets are shifting. So we have to, and companies, they have to answer those challenges that usually emerges. Every year is something. Nobody knew that we will have a pandemic. Like, what do you do about that, right? And the bigger brands, for example, they have challenger brands, the little ones that emerging every year, trying to undermine them and take the bigger market share. Sometimes they succeed. So it is really important to think about brand strategy every time. And that's when brand strategy, working with marketers hand in hand, because both it's iterative process. We got to think, we got to measure the brand awareness, for example, if it's coming up, if it's coming down, why the numbers are down, so what we can do about it. And then marketers and brand people, they usually sit at one table thinking about how can we drive more engagement, how can we think about our positioning and defend it so nobody will challenge us, right? So all these things, it is an iterative process. And for startups, just make something, think about it, because there is a DNA, two things coming together, your business and your brand. And it's better for startups to think right from the beginning.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Alina, because at the end of the day, adding something extra in your plate, it will be adding value to your business. For example, with very high competitive market, everybody presents marketing. But for example, Alina giving marketing plus she have like brand strategy that will be adding value. So adding value for both, for you as service provider and for me as a customer. So of course I will looking for something unique. So it's not or, it's and. I mean, it's not either to go to the marketing or to go to the brand. No, there's no option like this now, because a couple of individuals or corporations looking for brand strategy certificate or something credential from either organization or from expert individuals or at the board, to giving value to themselves as individuals, as a corporation, to serving much better to their customers. So there's no options now. Is a must to understand and to digest brand strategy, because if you just waiting now. No need for brand strategy, and all your competitors will taking what they call the pie, okay, and all the pizza. I mean, and going forward because they have something extra combined with you. So it's not something optional now. It's something must for every marketeers. They have to understand that brand strategy is something. It's not a trend. No, it's embedded in marketing, it's embedded in business strategy from day one. But now with high competition, of course, it will be more details, it will be in the table. So that's why the brand strategy now coming, as a certificate or organizations, or even dialogue and discussion in Clubhouse and all social media. That's not happening before maybe 20 years, maybe.
Right.
Now it's more and more. That's mean just you have to what they call it catch the train. So we have to take that brand strategy and put it in our list as a knowledge and as something extra for us, either individual or corporations, and going forward. So I think that's what you are doing now, Elena, which is you have already the brand strategy experts, and you have marketing, and you have both. So you have your DNA. I mean, that's two strips, right?
Yeah, I totally do. And like you said, 20 years ago, brand strategy was accessible only to a bigger corporations because of the budget, because of the size. But right now, everybody can learn about it and start thinking more strategically. And I think it will be not a wise decision not to use that, because if you can elevate your business and position it so competition won't really hurt you, well, isn't that a value that brand strategy can add to your company? I think that's it. So
Yeah, that will be definitely the adding value, especially with all the clutter, as Martin Neumeyer said in his book Brand Gap, talking about the clutter. So with high clutter, with high competition, always you have to think deeply and deeply in your brand to become like standout. It's not in the product itself, because people they are looking for the meaning more than the product itself. Before 100 years ago, sorry, they are looking for the products and features. Then they are looking for values. Now they are looking for meaning. So we don't know after 50 years what they are looking for.
right.
So adapt ourselves. That's why to upgrade yourself in terms of the knowledge, and just to get more experience, more feedback from different resources, such as, like, for example, Elena now with us. So that will be adding value for everyone. And I think, and you think, of course, that brand strategy is not optional, is something mandatory for any marketers, for an expert in brand, even the business owner. Otherwise, it will be cliche. I mean, everybody talking about marketing, but you don't have something unique, what they call USP. You don't have unique selling point or proposition if you don't have the brand essence itself. So, any final words from your side, Elena? And before that, thank you for your time and for everything, because you are very supportive. So, if you have any final words for our audience, because after that I will save it in IGTV, and I will save it in YouTube and circulate it in my network. So, any final words from your side, Elena?
What final words can I say? If you're a brand strategist, you're on the right path, because brand strategy is not just something that you do. It is something that informs everything that comes after, whether it's design, whether it's marketing, whether it's understanding the company by the customers. So this is the DNA. And if you're a brand strategist, well, more power to you.
Yeah, and we're always looking for our DNA, Alina. I like
Right.
the two steps for DNA. Thank you, Alina, again, and always our Jafar talks when just 60 minutes. We don't want to take too much time.
Right,
It's just
right.
like chicken nuggets, small, but in healthy knowledge for everybody. Thank you, Alina, again for your time and for your support. And we will see you, inshallah, in Clubhouse and in upcoming events that we'll be having that will be happening in this year, inshallah. Thank you, Alina.
Right. Yes,
and
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.